Welcome back, everyone. This video is made for you, dear friend. There comes a moment, not once, but many times, when everything falls apart, when silence becomes heavier than noise, when the mirror reflects someone unrecognizable, and the life you thought you were building feels like it's crumbling beneath your feet. And maybe no one notices. Maybe the world keeps spinning like nothing ever happened. But inside, something breaks. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, permanently. You clicked this video not just to feel inspired, but because deep down, something inside you is ready to fight again. To stop surviving and start rebuilding. Not the same version of yourself, not the weaker, smaller, wounded version, but something sharper, smarter, unshakable. This isn't about becoming who you once were. That version didn't survive the storm. This is about becoming someone new, forged in the fire of what tried to destroy you. By the end of this video, you won't just have rules. You'll have a code, a strategy, a way out. This is for the ones rebuilding from nothing, the ones no one believed in, the ones who had to start over again, and again, and again. This is how you rise. This is how you rebuild. 1. Burn what broke you. Before anything new can be built, something old must be destroyed. And not just anything. The version of yourself that kept swallowing pain just to keep the peace. The one that made survival the only goal, not growth. That version tolerated too much, stayed too long, said, "I'm fine," when everything inside was screaming. You don't get to rebuild by dragging that same weight into a new chapter. You rebuild by burying the parts of you that betrayed your own potential. This is not a soft process. It's not about lighting candles and journaling your feelings away. This is the kind of fire that scorches everything false. It's standing in front of the mirror and finally being honest. This cost me everything, and I'm done paying for it. It's not about blaming the world. It's about taking accountability for what you allowed, what you ignored, and what you became while trying to survive. That honesty hurts, but it also heals. You take everything that broke you. Every lie you believed, every person who underestimated you, every choice you regret. And instead of carrying it, you burn it. Not to forget it, but to mark it. To carve a line in your story where the old ends and the new begins. Because healing isn't always about fixing. Sometimes it's about clearing space. A funeral for what you no longer need. A fire that clears the path forward. Burn it all. Burn the guilt. Burn the fear of being too much or never enough. Burn the version of you that kept playing small just to be accepted. Burn what broke you and watch what rises in its place. Not the old you patched up, but the real you finally unleashed. 2nd, reclaim discipline before motivation. Forget waiting for motivation. It's unreliable. It's emotional. It shows up when it wants and disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. That's why the most successful rebuilds don't begin with hype. They begin with discipline. Real change starts the moment you realize you can't afford to wait for a good mood, a perfect morning, or a magical burst of inspiration. You need to move, especially when you don't feel like it. Discipline is not a punishment. It's a reclaiming. It's how you take your power back from the part of you that wants comfort more than change. It's waking up when it would be easier to stay asleep. It's choosing action when silence is tempting. It's showing up again and again. Not because you feel like it, but because your future demands it. And in those quiet, consistent repetitions, you become someone unshakable. This isn't about hustle culture. It's about self-respect, about deciding that your goals are non-negotiable, that your time matters, that your potential isn't something to flirt with. It's something to fight for. People talk about motivation like it's some divine spark, but they forget. Discipline creates motivation. When you show up consistently, you start to believe in yourself. You start to see results. And that builds a kind of fire that no mood swing can touch. Discipline is a decision, one made daily, without applause, without shortcuts. Reclaim it. Because if your life depends on how you feel, you'll keep restarting forever. But if it depends on your discipline, you'll rebuild into something permanent, something unstoppable. 3. Detach from who you were. Rebuilding doesn't just mean adding new pieces. It means letting go of the old ones, especially the ones that no longer fit who you're becoming. One of the hardest parts of transformation is saying goodbye to the version of yourself that feels familiar, even if that version was broken, stuck, or afraid. But if you cling to your old identity, you'll keep repeating the same patterns, choices, and mistakes that brought you here in the first place. Detach from the image of who you were. That version might have been passive, reactive, always doubting. That version might have believed the lie that change was for others. But holding on to that identity, even subconsciously, is like trying to run forward while dragging chains behind you. No matter how fast you move, you'll stay anchored to the same spot emotionally and mentally. Growth demands space. And to create it, the past version of you must go. This is not about rejecting your past. It's about releasing its control, respect the lessons it taught, mourn what needs to be mourned. Then move forward without guilt. You are not your mistakes. You are not the sum of your failures. And you are not obligated to carry the weight of who you were just because it's familiar. The truth is, the more you detach, the clearer your path becomes. You stop acting out of habit, and you start acting from intention. You start showing up as someone new, someone built from choice, not circumstance. Let the old identity fall away. Because if you don't, if you keep returning to that version of you for comfort, you'll never give the new version a chance to rise. Surround yourself with fire, not smoke. The people around you can either be the fuel that ignites your growth or the smoke that suffocates it. When you're trying to rebuild yourself, you're in a fragile stage. Every word, every energy, every influence matters. And too many try to evolve while still swimming in the same shallow waters that drowned them before. Smoke looks dramatic. It moves fast. It fills the room. But it's empty. Fire transforms everything it touches. That's the difference. Stop mistaking noise for direction. Stop confusing chaos for passion. There are people who talk loudly but say nothing. People who move constantly but go nowhere. That's smoke, and it will cloud your vision, drain your energy, and make you question your path. When you're surrounded by smoke, you're in survival mode. You're trying to breathe, not build. And you'll never rise if all you're doing is trying not to fall. But fire pushes you. It challenges your beliefs, not to break you, but to build you. It doesn't flatter your comfort zone, it burns through it. Fire wakes you up at 6 a.m. and says, "Let's go." Fire doesn't need to brag. It proves itself through intensity, consistency, and heat. You'll know you've found fire when being around someone makes you uncomfortable, in the best way. Like they see the version of you that you haven't even met yet, and they're not going to let you settle for less. Rebuilding means protecting your energy with everything you've got. Audit your circle. Who drains you? Who inspires you? Who reminds you of who you were? And who holds you accountable to who you're becoming? The difference between staying stuck and leveling up often comes down to this. Who are you standing next to? So if you're going to rebuild yourself, don't just chase change. Surround yourself with fire and let it transform you from the inside out. 5. Master silence before speaking. Powerful words don't come from a noisy mind. They come from a place of clarity, control, and intent. And you only reach that place through silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the discipline of stillness. In a world that rewards fast takes and loud opinions, silence has become a forgotten skill. But if you're serious about rebuilding yourself, you must learn to master it. Because silence isn't weakness. It's training. Every moment you choose to hold back instead of react, to observe instead of interrupt, you're sharpening a weapon far more dangerous than rage. Restraint. Silence teaches what noise covers up. It reveals truths you overlook when you're too busy filling space with empty words. Most people speak to be heard. Few speak to be understood. The difference lies in how well they've listened first, how deeply they've reflected before letting anything out. Silence gives birth to depth. When you embrace it, you stop saying things you don't mean. You stop rushing to fill gaps. You start speaking only when it adds weight, not just sound. And there's power in that. When you speak less, people listen more. When you pause, others lean in. Because in a world addicted to noise, calm is magnetic. The loudest one in the room isn't the leader. The one who can sit quietly and still command attention is. That's who you're becoming. Rebuilding isn't just about changing what you say. It's about upgrading how you think before you say it. And that only happens in silence. So sit with your thoughts. Wrestle with them. Let them mature in stillness before they leave your mouth. Because once they're spoken, they shape reality, yours and others. Speak with purpose. Speak with power. But before all of that, master the silence. 6. Control your input. Control your mind. The mind is a mirror. It reflects what you feed it. And in today's world, input is everywhere. Notifications, news, gossip, endless scrolling, people's opinions flooding every corner of your attention. But here's the brutal truth. Your life cannot rise above the quality of what you consume. What you let in becomes what you think, and what you think becomes who you are. So if you're serious about rebuilding yourself, the process starts not with massive action, but with ruthless filtration. What enters your mind stays. It shapes your energy, your mood, your beliefs, your confidence. Everything. Most people protect their homes more than their minds. They lock their doors at night but leave their mental gates wide open. And then wonder why they feel anxious, overwhelmed, confused. What are you watching? Who are you listening to? What conversations are shaping your self-worth without you even realizing it? Your input is programming. Every message, every image, every word carries weight. And if you're not choosing your influences, they are choosing you. Rebuilding yourself means becoming a curator of your own mental environment. You must be intentional with what you allow into your space, not because you're weak, but because you're building strength. That means unfollowing accounts that drain your peace. It means walking away from people whose words plant doubt instead of growth. It means consuming information that challenges you, not numbs you. Learning things that push your mind forward, not content that keeps you stuck in cycles of comfort and comparison. The difference between the person who breaks down and the one who breaks through? It's not always talent or luck. It's what they feed their minds day in and day out. So guard your input like your life depends on it, because in a very real way it does. Control your input, and you begin to control your future. 7. Let pain become a blueprint. Pain is not the enemy. In fact, it's often the most honest teacher you'll ever have. It doesn't lie, sugarcoat, or whisper. It screams. It forces awareness. It demands attention. And while most people run from it, numb it, or bury it under distractions, those who rise, those who rebuild, choose a different path. They turn pain into architecture, into structure, into something that guides their next move. They don't avoid the storm. They take notes inside it. Every scar carries data. Every failure, every betrayal, every dark night has something to say. Not about your worth, but about what must change. Pain shows you the cracks in your foundations, the weak spots in your mindset, the toxic patterns you've normalized, the boundaries you've never set. But it also reveals your strength, your capacity to endure, your will to keep standing when everything inside you says collapse. Rebuilding yourself starts when you stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as a blueprint, a map drawn in the hardest moments of your life. And no, it won't be pretty. Healing rarely is. But within the tears, the breakdowns, the sleepless nights, there's gold. There's self-awareness. There's power. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That's when your identity begins to shift. You are not broken because you've suffered. You're rebuilding because you've suffered. That's the difference. Pain didn't come to end you. It came to redirect you, to push you to finally evolve. So study it. Sit with it. Extract the wisdom and use it as fuel. Let it be the ink that rewrites your story. Let it be the reason you rise with clearer vision, deeper resilience, and an unshakable understanding of who you never want to be again. Your pain is not just part of the past. It's part of the plan. 8. Train when no one's watching. The real transformation begins in the shadows. When no eyes are on you, no applause is waiting, and no recognition is guaranteed. That's the moment that separates those who want change from those who become change. It's easy to show up when the world is watching. It's easy to put in effort when someone is clapping. But the truth is, the person you're trying to become is built in silence, in solitude, in those invisible hours no one will ever see or celebrate. This is where character is forged, not in the spotlight, but in the repetition. In the early mornings when the bed feels heavier than your dreams. In the late nights when you're exhausted but still choose discipline over comfort. It's in the small decisions, the ones no one notices, that compound into strength, into skill, into unshakable confidence. Because when you're training alone, there's no one to impress. The only thing keeping you moving is your why. And that's the difference. That's what creates power. Rebuilding yourself means showing up not because of the pressure, but in spite of the silence. You don't need an audience to validate your progress. You don't need permission to grow. Those who rise from the ashes know that consistency in secret leads to greatness in public. They build quietly, patiently, day by day, brick by brick, in places the world forgets to look. And when the time comes, when life tests them, they don't fold. Because they've already faced themselves in the dark. So keep training when no one's watching. Keep refining the parts of yourself that no one claps for. One day, people will wonder how you became so focused, so grounded, so powerful. They'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. But you'll know it was built in silence, earned in the moments when no one cared and you showed up anyway. Rebuilding isn't loud, it's lonely, but it's where greatness begins. 9. Forgive, but never forget the lesson. Some of the deepest scars come not from what was done to the body, but what was done to the soul. Betrayal, abandonment, lies, loss. We carry these moments like silent weights, tucked behind smiles, buried beneath resilience. And as we rebuild ourselves, one brick at a time, we must confront a hard truth. We can't truly move forward while holding on to the poison of resentment. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's not surrender. It's not saying what happened was okay. It's recognizing that holding on to the pain does more damage to the present than the event did in the past. It's a release. Not for them, but for you. For the version of yourself that deserves to breathe without the chains of old wounds. But here's where strength meets wisdom. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means remembering without allowing it to control you. Because every wound has a lesson stitched into it. Every betrayal taught you something about trust. Every disappointment showed you something about expectation. Every failure handed you a mirror and said, "Look closer." These aren't just painful memories. They're the curriculum of growth. And if you discard the memory, you discard the lesson and risk repeating it. So forgive, yes. Let the anger go. Let the bitterness die. But never forget who showed you their true colors. Never forget what that heartbreak revealed about your boundaries. Never forget what being broken taught you about healing. Because those lessons are your armor now. That experience, as painful as it was, shaped your discernment. It sharpened your instincts. It made you slower to trust but quicker to protect your peace. Rebuilding isn't just about becoming new. It's about becoming wiser, stronger, sharper, more self-aware. Forgiveness is part of that. It's not about erasing the past. It's about making peace with it while holding on to the wisdom it left behind. That way, you never walk blindly into the same fire again. Let go of the burden, but carry the blueprint. Because every lesson costs something. Make sure it's never wasted. 10. Move in purpose, not emotion. There's a moment, a split second, between stimulus and response, where your future is quietly being decided. That's where emotion either explodes or purpose takes control. Most people don't even notice it. They get hit by something, a word, a betrayal, a failure, a delay, and they react. instinctively, impulsively, angrily, emotionally. And in that heat, they ruin what took months, even years to build. Because emotion, when unchecked, is fire. Powerful but destructive. It burns bridges, it wrecks focus, it clouds vision. But purpose is calm. Purpose is still. Purpose sees the chaos, feels the sting, hears the insult, and still chooses discipline over drama. Moving in purpose means you don't let temporary feelings derail permanent goals. You don't throw away your progress because someone touched a nerve. You don't quit just because the day was hard. You pause, you breathe, and you ask, what am I building? What matters more? How I feel right now, or the life I'm creating? This is where transformation lives, in mastering that space between emotion and action, because life will test you. People will provoke you. Not once, not twice, but endlessly. And every time, you have a choice. Give in to emotion and hand them control, or root yourself in purpose and take the power back. It's not about pretending to feel nothing. It's about letting your mission speak louder than your mood. When emotion runs your life, your decisions become reactive, not intentional. You lash out, you walk away, you self-sabotage. But when purpose leads, you become strategic. You respond with strength. You see through the noise. You start to play a longer game. You stop chasing validation and start choosing direction. Moving in purpose means waking up with intention. It means not negotiating your discipline just because motivation took a day off. It means speaking when it's necessary, not when it's easy. It means protecting your time, your energy, your mind. Because those are the tools you're building your future with. This mindset doesn't just change how you act. It rewires who you are. You become more grounded, more centered, less reactive, more powerful. And eventually, the storms come. But you don't flinch. Because you're not led by emotion anymore. You're led by something deeper. Something unshakable. Purpose. Before this video ends, pause for just a second. Not to scroll, not to click away, but to breathe and realize every single rule you've just heard isn't theory. It's your invitation to rebuild, to reinvent, to rise. This world will keep handing out reasons to stay broken, stay bitter, stay behind. But somewhere deep inside, you already know. Staying there isn't an option anymore. Not after everything you've survived. Not with everything you're capable of becoming. The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't get to define you. The real story, that's being written now. In your choices, in your habits, in how you show up when no one's watching. So step forward with intention. Carry these rules with you, not just as advice, but as armor. Because life won't go easy on you. But then again, you're not here to live an easy life. You're here to build a meaningful one. And that starts now. And please, my friend, if this video made something stir inside you, even just for a moment, don't let that feeling fade. Act on it. Subscribe, not just to this channel, but to a new version of yourself. The version that doesn't wait for someday. The version that rewrites the story starting today. Hit that button. Join the mission. Because this isn't just content. This is a movement. And your rebuild. It starts right here.